Hi friends, thank you so much for tuning in to my recap of the last governing body update of the year 2021. I have already filmed this twice and actually uploaded it to YouTube, but there were a lot of issues, so I don't have the best conditions this morning to film this, but I have to get it done, so forgive me for that, friends. So anyway, guess what this governing body update is all about? I'm sure you can guess. The pandemic. Check it out.
In this update, we're going to talk about how we can make good use of our time during the pandemic. As of December 10th, we have lost 25,658 brothers and sisters to COVID-19.
More than 25,000 witnesses have passed away as a result of this. Why is that number so high? I can only speculate as to the reasons, but what do you think, friends? Leave me a comment. And I think most importantly, why is it necessary that the governing body share these details with their followers? I don't know.
There are still many unknowns. Brothers and sisters, we don't need to panic. Keep following the same basic precautions that have worked well. Wearing masks, physical distancing, frequently washing our hands, and getting vaccinated if possible. Over 99% of our worldwide Bethel family is vaccinated, and so are over 95% of our special full-time servants in the field.
Here we go. Same story. Tony is now going to share something that happened in Bulgaria in typical Watchtower fashion. Check it out.
Many of our brothers and sisters have had good results from being vaccinated. For example, in some parts of Bulgaria, the local clergy say that vaccines are poison from the devil. So there's much pressure in the community not to get vaccinated. Despite this, one sister and her husband watched the governing body updates and made their personal decision to get vaccinated. Later, the sister's employer called her and said that in order to comply with government regulations, she couldn't return to work if she had not been vaccinated. How surprised the manager was to learn that the sister was already vaccinated. In fact, she was the only employee who was vaccinated. Everyone else had to be laid off. The manager asked our sister if she had any vaccinated friends who could replace the employees who had been fired. That evening, all the positions were nearly filled. The head of staff asked our sisters, "How do you know so many vaccinated women?" A fine witness was given. In the end, 14 sisters and one Bible student were employed because they followed the good guidance and Bible principles that have been shared in our various governing body updates.
Typical. So all of these witnesses were rewarded with employment for being faithful and getting, the V. I wonder if this really happened. I don't know. No names, typical Watchtower fashion. Anyway, Tony now goes on to say how so many witnesses are using time well spent by pioneering and refining their telephone skills, their letter writing skills. He also talks about how the witnesses are now to reach out to the inactive ones. And he says that so many are returning. I don't know, my channel is growing by leaps and bounds, which tells me, and I know other ex-Jehovah's Witness channels are growing. It's not me, friends. It's the message, because so many witnesses are coming out of this organization. And for the first time in many of their lives, they have the courage to see what the whistleblowers, as the organization calls us, apostates. I'm a proud apostate because I don't believe their doctrine. Their doctrine is a big lie. But for the first time, these people are getting the courage to say, you know what? What is it that they don't want us to know? What is it that they don't want us to see? And they're looking at YouTube. They're reading Reddit, and they're finding out that, you know what, the whistleblowers, the apostates really aren't as bad as we thought they were. I want to see what they have to say. So Watchtower claims that the inactive ones are returning. I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. So anyway, I have an issue because he claims that Jehovah and the angels rejoice when one lost sheep returns to them. But my issue is that this is Jesus speaking. John chapter 10, read it. Jesus is the good shepherd, that he is the one looking for the sheep, that the sheep hear his voice and they're returning to Jesus, not to the organization.
Right now, some inactive ones may be praying to Jehovah saying, "Search for me. I need help to come back." They haven't forgotten Jehovah, but for various reasons, they haven't been able to come back on their own. How does Jehovah feel about such ones? Ezekiel 34, verses 15 and 16 says, "I myself will feed my sheep. The lost one I will search for. The stray I will bring back. The injured I will bandage, and the weak I will strengthen."
It's funny that Tony reads Ezekiel 34. Read that, friends. See for yourself that Ezekiel 34, in this chapter, God condemns the shepherds of Israel, the religious leaders of Israel. This is an Old Testament book. You know why? Because they failed to shepherd their flocks. Their sheep were going astray. Their sheep were leaving them, and they were poor shepherds. Therefore, in the verses that Tony read, God himself says, "You failed, therefore I will be the shepherd. I will seek that which was lost." As I said in John chapter 10, verses 11, this is Jesus speaking. Jesus is revealed in the New Testament. He says, "I am the one Ezekiel 34 is talking about." So in essence, Tony, when reading this chapter, is condemning himself for being the poor shepherd, the liar that he is, for not feeding the sheep. So now he shows a clip, a video, typical Watchtower, of some faithful Jehovah's Witnesses and how they are reaching out to inactive ones. Listen to what they have to say.
I didn't know what my brother was ever going to do about the truth. As a teenager, he was a publisher in the congregation. By the time he was 16, he sadly decided to leave home, and he then no longer served Jehovah. My wife and I had been providing meals for him because his wife had a brain tumor. But the beautiful thing is, our congregation, they started taking him meals when my brother's wife was hospitalized. An elder talked to him the first time he went to the Kingdom Hall, and they exchanged phone numbers. And so they were able to communicate, and that elder helped set him up in Zoom, and he was able to attend the meetings in. It took 59 years. Here, I had the privilege of actually performing the baptism for my own brother.
Making a list of all the inactive people that we could think of, 40 people on that list.
So we've emailed, we've called, we've texted, and we've written lots of letters. Some of them we haven't heard anything from, but nobody has rejected our efforts.
I'm a bit confused because she said that she has not heard from some of them, but nobody rejected them. Well, I wonder how she defines rejection. Isn't that if you're reaching out to somebody with a message and you never hear from them, is that not rejection? I don't know. I don't know what she means.
Zoom, and now we're studying the Bible in the Enjoy Life Forever book. We contacted one brother who'd been inactive for many years. It's been reactivated, and all of this despite some very serious health problems.
I'm sure you agree that Jehovah blessed these efforts to reach out to his lost sheep. We hope that many more lost sheep will return to Jehovah before the end.
Before the end, Tony just had to slip that in there, that time factor that this doomsday cult is known for. So what comes next is very interesting, because this organization is different than when I was a Jehovah's Witness. They move on to claiming to be teachers, to teach less fortunate ones how to read and write. Now, don't get me wrong, friends, that's really wonderful. But you have to think, is this a way that the organization is rebranding themselves in turning to an online religion organization? Is this a way that they're going to lure people in? Check it out.
Another good use of our time is improving our reading and writing skills. Jesus was raised by a poor family, yet he was able to read. Timothy was already an elder, yet Paul said to him, "Continue applying yourself to public reading." A new article was recently published on jw.org entitled, "Why Reading is Important for Children."
A sister named Sarah had been trying for some time to learn to read and write. At home, her husband tried to help her, but they just couldn't find enough time. When the pandemic limited their activities, her husband, who's an elder, took advantage of the extra time. He began to help her several times a week to learn to read. Now, she has the joy of reading the Bible and other publications on her own. She also loves to sing the kingdom songs using her own songbook.
One Bible student named Comfort earnestly longed to be able to read the Bible. She became downhearted when the pandemic began and wondered, who's going to help her read now that she couldn't physically attend a literacy class? A local congregation elder gave her some excellent practical suggestions, and he encouraged her to continue practicing on her own. She conducts 5 Bible studies.
Her field service partners would send Maria photographs of the letters they wrote in her behalf. And using the photographs, Maria then would copy them so as to write her own letters. She now writes her own letters. If you could see the letters that she writes, what a neat handwriting she's learned to have, and how well she expresses herself. Obviously, she's had Jehovah's blessing.
And if we're being honest with ourselves, probably most of us would say that we could improve in our reading and writing. Many of the ways in which we serve God involve the ability to read. In general, Christians should be able to read. So, how could we learn to read or improve in our reading? An excellent tool to assist is the Apply Yourself to Reading and Writing brochure. If you already know the alphabet and you can recognize words, audio recordings of our literature may also help. You brothers and sisters have shown that you can thrive spiritually and build others up during a time of adversity. You have made good use of your time.
So this organization that back in my day failed to recognize the importance of education, failed to allow us to go to college, recommended that their publishers quit secular education and pioneer full-time because the end is coming. Now, they're commending them for teaching others how to read and write. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So what do you think about this, friends? Listen, I think it's really wonderful if people can learn how to read and write. Those less fortunate ones who never had the opportunity. But here's the issue that I have. This is being done by a destructive cult, an evil cult. It's a method by which they are luring people in. They come in, they get love bombed. Wow, I'm going to learn how to read and write. This is great. They get baptized, and before they know it, they're in bondage. Jesus said, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Come to me." That's not what this organization says. So anyway, friends, I think that I got through this recap this time for the third time without any issues, let's hope. So I wanted to thank you so much for tuning in to the last recap of Governing Body Update number 10 of the year 2021, which is really not an update at all. I don't see how this edifies the church. Christians are to build each other up. Jesus said they'll know us by our love. I don't know how this was upbuilding. Oh, maybe that we're finding that people are learning how to read and write. I think that's really great, but not by a cult. So anyway, friends, thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.